I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening. We're going to get started just with our introductory video. So Barry, if you can go ahead with that, please.
Do you ever feel the need for more energy, vitality, and a greater sense of well-being? Then stay tuned. We are natural health enthusiasts with yet another delicious recipe of best practices and holistic lifestyle health. Our natural health planners, sponsors, presenters, and friends compile and share the simplest, most natural discoveries and practices targeted to restoring and maintaining energy, as well as a sense of well-being that we all want in our daily lives. It has been said that health is a state of complete harmony of the body, mind, and spirit. Therefore, through the practice of the 8 laws of natural health, integrated with evidence-based research, we see a world empowered by Christ's love that is passionately seeking to be its healthiest in body, mind, and soul. And that's why we're so glad you've chosen to be here. Join us each month to help us celebrate the Creator for the resources and knowledge that consistently optimize His gift of natural healing in our bodies. We thank our hosts at the All Nations Fellowship Seventh-day Adventist Church in partnership with Community Outreach Incorporated for providing this one-of-a-kind opportunity that helps us all live healthier tomorrow than we are today, every single day. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's your Natural Health Meetup presenting team for this life-enhancing edition.
Yes, another delicious episode is in store for us today. And just wanting to be sure that you know that we are here to serve you. Our goal is to show you how much we care about your health. And so this is going to be almost the completing of 8 years. We've been doing this each month. We're now online. We hope to get back in person in a hybrid format sometime soon. But we're just very glad you're here. I do want to ask you to pay close attention to the fact that we do have in our in the chat window right now, I'm putting a link and want to be sure that you use this link to give us feedback, even if this is your first time here, even if it is your 10th time here. It doesn't matter. I love that you would give us some feedback, give us an idea of what it is that you would like us to be doing as topics. Give us that feedback. And at the end of the workshop, let us know how much you enjoyed it, not only on this site, but also on our Natural Health Meetup site online. So thank you so very much for coming here, and we'll continue with our agenda as posted right now. We're going to go directly to the appetizer minute. The appetizer minute is coming right up. Love for you to open your chat window. Open the chat. And we want to go back to question number 1. All right. Want to go back to question number 1. And question number 1 is, on a scale of 1 to 5, how easy is it to maintain a healthy lifestyle for you? Where 5 is really easy and 1 is really hard. Just jump that in chat. Pop that in the chat window so we can see what you are saying about that. All right. We got a 3 and a 4. Yes, 3.5. Okay, Rosita. I love it. All right. So we have great responses here. So some people, all of us have a challenge, right? That's pretty much, yeah. We all have a challenge. We have a 4, we have a 3.5 again, and a 3. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's not an easy task sometimes to have a healthy lifestyle. So thank you for answering that. In our appetizer minute, we want to move on to question number 2. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we all have that thing, right? That makes us fall right off the healthy wagon. And what is that? What foods, what beverages, what environment makes it difficult for you to keep up your health habit? What's your Achilles heel? It used to be donuts for me. Not anymore, but it used to be. What's your Achilles heel? Dairy, ice cream, yeah. Dessert, of course. I know it. Oh man, business, yeah, staying too busy, right? And just so many things that are so easy to distract us away from that healthy lifestyle that we know we should stay with. All right. Thank you so much for sharing those. And then number 3, what is it you find easy to do? Something that's really great. We're driving to the gym. Okay. All right. So that's really cool. Anything else? What lifestyle habits, health habits, do you find easy to maintain? For me, it's drinking water. I have really gotten really good at drinking 80 ounces of water a day. And that is really made a difference in my life tremendously. Okay, fantastic. The gym, diet, prayer, I love it. That's a very important lifestyle health habit. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing those. That's just amazing, right? And I'm going to actually put that link that I said I was going to put earlier. I'm going to put that in there right now. It's actually the survey link. Who can see your message if anyone this is not in this meeting? Did you get that the last time? No, I think not. So this is what now is going in the right place.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is. So that's our survey link. And we want to thank you for participating in our appetizer minute. And at this time, I'm going to just bring a PowerPoint slide up so we can review just our goals and who we are a little bit more. This is, of course, the Natural Health Enthusiasts group where we learn and share together. It's an outreach ministry of the All Nations Fellowship, Seventh-day Adventist Church in Downers Grove. It is also a part of Community Outreach, Inc., which is owned by that church. And we produce this for our members and our friends, and all of us together come together as natural health enthusiasts. We are just wanting to know that this is monthly. So however you heard about this, be sure you go back there, whether it's on Facebook, where we have a Facebook group, if it's on the Meetup site, if it's through a WhatsApp message, please be sure that you pay it close attention. Our next one coming up is going to be in July. It's going to be the 11th of July. And it will be on mental health. It will actually be Happiness on Demand. And a clinical psychologist out of Edmonton in Canada, Alberta, is going to be sharing her Happiness on Demand. She's a well-published author and is going to be with us July 11. So it's monthly. In August, we'll have another presentation, and we've been doing this faithfully each and every month. We are, in particular, wanting you also to recognize that in this particular venue, we are not here to diagnose or treat or prescribe anything. This is purely for educational purposes, to share our stories, our successes. But whenever you need any proper health care, please go to a qualified professional for that care so they can properly treat you, diagnose, and recommend as well as prescribe the correct regimen for your health. So we want to thank you for coming here. And this is some of our planning team. We don't have all the pictures here. Let's let you know that we meet every week on a Sunday morning to actually come together to plan these programs and design them. And we really want to hear from you in that survey so we can actually improve what we do on your behalf. So we'll continue with our agenda at this time. Dr. Rick.
All right. I'm just enjoying the ride here. I was getting comfortable here. But I just wanted to welcome everyone here and just kind of quickly distill why we're here. And in a nutshell, there's two things that I kind of think about. Number one is to build a healthy community. You know, people do a lot of things together, some good, not so good, but we are encouraging everyone, even if you don't know someone, just spend a few minutes and you'll see we're a good place to be, a healthy community. And then the second thing and the final thing is really just to offer you something better. If we can move all of our lives just a little bit further along, I think we'll be in a good spot. So those two things, and be sure to stay afterwards to build that community. We have our kind of mixer at the end just for a few minutes where you can talk and share, and we can hear your story as well. But I would love it if you would join me now for a word of prayer, okay? Father in heaven, we are just so grateful that you have given us an opportunity to meet with our friends and meet together. And as we hear the stories, let us all be blessed. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Dr. Danny.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful day. Here in Illinois, it's been a bit dreary and wet. But we're back together, and I'm so grateful that I can see sunshine in Mr. Rick's background. I can see palm trees in Mr. Backus's background. I can see plants in Mr. Zoomhagen and Mr. Campbell's background. My name is Danaran Frederick. I'm a teacher. I'm a chaplain at one of the hospitals in the area. And it is my privilege to actually be the moderator for today's program. We have a number of distinguished guests with us that we're going to be interviewing. And we hope that you benefit from the questions and the stories and the experiences of those that we shall share with. First, we have Dr. Zoomhagen. He's a medical doctor. And we want to thank him so very much for being here. We also have Barrington. Mr. Barrington works also in the community. He's at a school, an institution nearby. We have Miss Serena. She is a certified, is it a certified herbologist? All right. She has a certification there, and she'll tell us a little bit more about that. And our in-house health educator and guru, Mr. Dale Campbell. So before we start, I just want to remind you, there will be some time for question and answers for the panel. But as Dr. Rick has said, at the end, we want to have some time where you as an audience, you pitch in, you share. We want to hear your experiences as well. And so we call that the mixer. And so please stay behind. We'd like to hear from you. Dr. Zoomhagen, are you ready?
Sure. Just tell me, get me started here.
Wonderful. Well, you are a doctor, and I've never been to med school. My brother's a physician. He's been to med school. But for me personally, my experience was when I was a young man early in high school, my dad was diagnosed with diabetes, and the doctors came and they said, now, Danny, what you need to do is to take this syringe and poke it into an orange because you need to get the practice of sticking your dad with insulin. And that was a bit shocking for me. But you've been to medical school and there's something that happened, my understanding, something that happened that initiated a shift in your thinking as it related to drugs and medicine. Can you share that with us?
Sure. Medical school is somewhat of an overwhelming experience. The best summary I've had for it is they cram so much information into your head that you forget how to think.
Oh my!
That's the way I describe it. And I think what happened to me is in between my second and third year of medicine, I was given an assignment. We were doing these little independent study projects, and I was assigned to read a book. Well, I sort of got to choose the book, and it was a list of topics. And I chose this book because it had an interesting title, and it was Confessions of a Medical Heretic. And that was by Robert Mendelsohn, who was a pediatrician in the Chicagoland area from the 50s into the 80s, basically. And he wrote the book in 79. And I was in medical school in about 80. I guess, this would have been right around 1980 or so, 82 or so. And that book was really eye-opening. It detailed Dr. Mendelsohn's skepticism that the medical system was really doing much to provide good, to put people on a path to good health. And they'd never entertained that idea. It was a brand new idea to me that maybe medicine didn't have all the answers. And I guess particularly what it helped me sort of begin to think in a different direction, that maybe medicine wasn't pure science. Because I was just, you could say, assimilating all the information I was given, assuming that it was just absolutely unquestionable, and all I had to do is keep memorizing things and learning. And basically, because we have a pharmaceutically based system, it was sort of like disease, pill, disease, pill, disease, pill. For each disease, you learned what medications to provide. But Dr. Mendelsohn did a pretty good job in that book of showing that there was a lot in medicine that wasn't science. It was based on, you could say, profit motives. It was based on traditions. It was based on a lot of things that weren't science. But that was a very freeing concept for me, because all of a sudden I realized I could stop, I could think, I could analyze what was going on, and maybe with the idea that maybe not everything that I was being told was the absolute gospel truth, so to speak. So that really changed my whole perspective. And then what really changed my perspective is my wife and I had a baby at home when I was in residency. And that was the first bit of, you could say, a little bit of light came into my life, because I was so sort of depressed as I got through medical school and didn't feel like I was really helping anybody. But when I saw my wife deliver at home, I realized there was maybe some usefulness that I could, provide. And so I joined that group and was with them for 24 years doing a home birth. And actually, I attended a home birth last night. I'm more or less from home birth, but some friends of ours from our church were delivering their second baby, and they happened to live 5 minutes down the street from me. And so I got to be there. There were midwives there too. And so I was there more of in an advisory capacity, but it was just very joyous experience. There's no greater, amazing experience than seeing a baby be born. And so you could say that that gave me a whole different viewpoint on health and sort of trying to find a path where I could be helping people rather than just keeping them stuck, you could say.
Right. Something else that I understand is pretty amazing and pretty life-altering are migraine headaches. Did you have something in your experience that caused a migraine, or the migraine helped to?
So that was phase 2 of my life. Phase 1 was getting into home birth for 24 years. And then when that practice started to sort of phase down, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, I've been delivering babies for 24 years. I don't want to go into pharmaceutical medicine. What should I do? My wife was visiting a chiropractor who's doing some nutritional work with her, and she knew I was having migraine headaches and said, maybe you should try nutritional work. And I didn't even know what that was. I said, what do you mean nutritional work? I was
going to ask the same question.
What do you do with nutrition? Well, it's just the whole idea that God made your body to heal, and lots of times when something's not working optimally, it's because you're either missing something in your diet or you're putting something in that's creating a health situation. And so I went to this chiropractor, and He mostly just helped me with my diet to get white sugar out, white flour, and gave me a couple of different little supplements that gave me some extra B vitamins and extra food things that I wasn't getting in my diet. And sure enough, the migraines went away. And of course, in medical school, you learn zero about nutrition, literally zero. And even what you do learn is not really very valuable, because everything's pharmaceutically oriented. So it's like they say to a man with a hammer, every problem is a nail. Well, to a doctor, every problem is a pharmaceutical deficiency. So we just got to figure out what drug we need to put in your body to bring about healing. And of course, that's not really, to me, it's not a very creationally based viewpoint. And I think that's where I've really feel blessed that God has led me down a path where I've more and more been able to be involved in a system that I would say is creationally based. To recognize the body was created by God, it does amazing things, and to respect it, to respect what the body's doing, and then to realize that unlike what I learned in medical school where they said it doesn't matter what you eat, yeah, it does matter what you eat. And that can have a huge impact on your health. But of course we see it all across America, the poor diets and sick children and obesity and it's actually not hard to solve. You just eat food the way God made it and
all right.
That solves the majority of your problems.
Yes. I like the idea, and so does Janine. She said beautiful. She appreciates your thoughts and what you have to share. But I like the idea of respecting the body. I think that we as humans, we sometimes give too much liberty to the physicians and to the doctors, but we know the body a little bit more than we think we do, our own body. I have a video I want to show before we go to the next person. I'm not sure if Barry has it ready. It's from Good Morning America. Barry, do you have that ready? It's an episode where this young woman did not know what was going on with her. I'm sorry?
It's ready when you are.
Oh, fantastic. Let's go ahead and roll that video. That ties into Dr. Zoomhagen and Mr. Barrington.
Story. For 31-year-old Nicole McGinnis, finding her North Carolina dream home with her father on HGTV's beachfront bargain hunt renovation was a welcome distraction after a tumultuous year.
In 2015, I had a tumor. I started treatment.
What's that there? Big old bird.
That all ended just this past year.
McGinnis says she finished treatment last summer for a stage 4 glioblastoma, an aggressive brain tumor, and began filming for the HGTV show in September.
Wow.
When Nicole's episode finally aired last month, Dr. Eric Voigt happened to be watching from his Long Island home and spotted this lump on the left side of her neck. Dr. Voigt felt obligated to do something, posting on Facebook, "I am watching a TV show and notice this woman has a left thyroid mass. She needs a sonogram and fine needle biopsy. I wonder if she knows and hope it's benign. Hashtag beachfront bargain hunt." That message eventually making its way back to Nicole, who took Dr. Voigt's advice and went to the doctor for a biopsy. On Friday, her results came back positive for thyroid cancer. And now, for the first time, they meet face-to-face where she can thank him for posting a truly life-changing message.
And now we are joined by Dr. Eric Voigt. Dr. Voigt, thanks for being with us. And so you were just watching television and you saw something on her neck and you were concerned it was cancer.
I was, yes. I'm a head and neck surgeon, and after a long work day, I get home and I'm watching beachfront properties and dreaming about a beachfront home, and I just noticed a subtlety in her neck. I'm watching the show and I just saw something wasn't right.
You bringing the doctor home with you even when you're relaxing watching television?
Yeah, I'm trained to examine patients and I teach medical students, and it just caught my eye, and I knew it wasn't right.
Well, we're glad it did catch your eye. You and Nicole have never met, right?
We have not met, no.
Would you like to meet her face to face?
I would love to. It's really a heartwarming story for me.
Well, are you guys ready to meet Nicole? Yeah. All right, let's do it. Come on out, Nicole.
Good morning. Hi. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Good morning. Good to see you. So nice to meet you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Nicole, I'm sure you've been wanting to say something to Dr. Eric here. Dr. Voigt, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Dr. Voigt, I'm going to try to say this without getting emotional. I have gone through a lot these last couple of years and never expected to have to be a two-time cancer survivor. But without you keeping a vigilant eye and watching that television show, who knows how long I would have gone on without that being checked. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. You have no idea.
Now, I have to try not to be emotional. Also, no, I'm really happy to help. You know, doctors and nurses do this every day. It's what we do, and I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much.
The reality is, you know, later on in the video, he talks about the fact that we all should be more in touch and in tune with our bodies. But I go a step further and I say we here at NHE, we as Dr. Rick says, we want to offer something better. We want to make sure that this is a community where we can grow, learn from each other, and live a little better today than we did yesterday. Barrington, as I watched that video, Barrington, are you there? I'm not sure if I see him or hear him. Barrington McLean? Which one would he be under?
Yolanda.
Oh, under Yolanda?
Yes.
All right.
You're muted right now.
Barrington, are you? Okay, well,
they're calling me. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay, go ahead now.
Backward, and I don't know how.
Okay, so you're
wonderful. You are there. You are there.
Yes. Now we want to switch the camera, but I don't know how can I do it.
The bottom line is, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Barrington. Thank you so much.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do this as we do the technical stuff later. But in this video that we just watched, this woman had a lump in her throat, and somebody identified that there was something wrong. You had an issue with your throat. Can you share a little bit about that, and how did you discover that? Were you in tune with your own body, or somebody else tipped you off on it?
Well, mine was what they call Barrett's esophagus. Of course, Barrett's esophagus is a precursor to throat cancer. A lot of people who have throat cancer or cancer of the esophagus, it's Barrett's esophagus. And for those who may not know, what that means is there's so much acid in your system, and your body inside is trying to keep this acid away. And when it's not happening, it grows its own defense.
Wow.
Which is really looks like intestine and the stomach. And of course, you lose weight because you have this extra thing growing in you. And, you know, I was down to about 95 pounds at one time. I was just diagnosed. In retrospect, it wasn't a long time coming because I did have a very acidic system. It goes back to when I was a baby, actually. But it wasn't a problem because back then I was in Jamaica. It was a problem, but it was manageable without knowing it because of the kind of food people ate. You know, they ate what they planted. It comes from the ground or off a tree or off of.
You went mute again? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, then when I came to the States, now, you know, you start eating the food over here, and even the healthy food that you ate, it turns out wasn't so as healthy as much. So by the time I hit
Sorry, Barrington, can you be a bit more clear? You say you started eating the food here in the States. What was the difference between the Caribbean food and the food here?
well, I think in all honesty, what it is they had a lot more stuff in it, whether it was genetically modified, whether they're feeding it with fertilizer and what have you.
Okay, more processed things, okay?
Yeah. And then, of course, there are the things you're buying that's from the can, which you thought was healthy. Or, we being from the Caribbean, you didn't eat vegetable from the can, but there are other things, etc. And after a while, it burst out in something. We start eating things like pizza. There was great food, right? But it turns out there was a problem. And it went on and on and on and no relief. I must say that being in Chicago, I have to tell you, I've had access to some of the best doctors in this country because I'm in Chicago. Because I'm in Chicago. You have all these medical schools, and all of them were at these medical schools.
Just like Dr. Zoomhagen was talking about.
Yeah. And I remember I went to one, I won't say which one of the teaching hospitals, and he gave me a new medication. And I said, so doctor, what food should I not be eating? He said, oh, eat whatever you want, just take this. And I thought to myself, he's crazy. Because everything I eat is bothering me. So as time went by, the good Lord would put a lady named Yolanda in my life. And she saw what I was going through, and I was doing my best. I was cutting out foods because I was learning. And eventually she was talking to a friend of hers from Colombia, and the friend told about this place called Vida Sana.
Vida Sana.
Life and Sana, healthful living. It's more like Adventist lifestyle living. That's really what it boils on to.
Okay.
And I told her, okay, fine. Let's check it out, because I had already checked out Uchi Pine and Wildwood and decided that I cannot afford that kind of money. But when we discovered Vida Sana in Colombia, and we started looking at the cost, etc., it would cost me what it would cost me for 1 week at Wildwood, Uchi Pine, and I'm not blaming them because they're doing a good job, and this is in the United States, it costs more to run the business. 1 week there would give me my airfare back and forth, my treatment, my food, my hotel stay down there. So I went down there for about 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
They started immediately, they do the assessment and so on. And they started with all this natural therapy. Clay all over my body, from my throat all the way down, my entire body. Of course, the clay is cheap, they just dig it out of the ground. Hot and cold water treatment. They did look at what I was eating, my diet. Simple stuff like what some of us used to do in Jamaica and didn't think much of it, walking around barefoot and didn't think much of it. Simple things like that, which they say stimulate the nerves in your feet and so on and so forth. And it went on and on. When I came back, I remember going to work and people say, you just came back from vacation. And at first, I didn't know what to say. But then they started telling me what's going on and how I look. And I thought, okay. The second year I went, again, the treatment, and people said the same thing. Finally, when I went to the bathroom and take a look, I'm like, it is true. My semblance, my skin, everything was coming back, etc. And I did notice I was tolerating more foods here, even though I wasn't doing too much of it. The third year when I went back 3 years in a row. The same treatment, except this time around, something happened to me. I had a bowel movement like 7 times in 1 day.
Okay.
And it was as fast as I was through, I was having another one. And so I started getting scared. I thought I was having diarrhea. And I remember in some of those occasions, this may sound weird or gross to some of you, but I remember sometimes there was so much stuff coming out of me that sometimes it would literally fill the toilet bowl, and I could feel it. So I had to get up and flush it and sit back. One of them, when I looked at it, it literally looked like intestine.
Oh my.
Yeah, of course I checked it and so on and so forth, and your finger went right through it and so on and so forth. Then I came back and went to my normal doctors out here in the south suburb, and he said, yes, you still have the Barrett's. At that point, I decided, well, I'm going back to my other doctor up north and see if we can get some of these other things. One of them they call the photodynamic process, another one they call ablation. And one of the doctors said to me, you don't want to do the ablation because what ablation is, they're going to scrape that thing off your esophagus, but we don't know what's going to happen when that thing starts to grow and if it's under there. So But then I went to another doctor, and the doctor looked at me, report, and said, you know what? Before I do anything, let me go in and take a look. And he went in and came back out. And when he came back out, he showed me a picture. Your esophagus was as clean as a penny whistle.
Huh.
And your polyps, I remember some of the doctors used to tell me, the polyps were so big that they didn't bother to figure out which one they were going to take. They were just snapping and to biopsy them. They were all gone. And he said there was nothing. And from then on, that's when I started gaining back my weight. I started being who I am, started eating.
All right.
To this day. Now, I still have some issue there and there, but it's very much under control.
Barrington, what a journey, what an experience.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you so much for sharing that. But do you know how you figured out that you needed to do something drastic with your body, with the change? Was there an event? Was there a person that said, hey, there's something wrong with you? Or did you just feel that your body was going through a significant change?
Pardon me. Yes, I knew that I was going through these issues because I couldn't eat anything. And I knew, things was happening to me, and I knew I just wasn't getting the answers, to the extent that I had been doing a lot of research on my own. And sometimes when I go to some of these doctors, they would make comments. I don't know if it was patronizing or what, but I would be asking questions. It looked like sometimes it's a question that they didn't expect me to be asking. But it's almost like I took a lesson again in biology and anatomy, because I'm asking that kind of question. Why is this? What's happening? The lower sphincter? How do we get this to not open up and close up in a way so that the acid doesn't come out? That kind of thing. So, but they all knew that I had the issue, but they would keep prescribing these medications. And
right.
Every last one of them that you can think of that are now over the counter, I've been in all of them. Tagamet, Pantic, Prilosec, you name them. Every last one of them. I still do have some now, but every once in a while I may take it, but I don't really pay,
Yes.
See, but what it boiled down to is it was a change at the diet. It was also learning how to control stress. Because, by the way, as you, Dr. Frederick, now know, within the Seventh-day Adventist Church, there's a lot of people in there who are doctors. And I can, I was telling my wife at one time, I could probably name you 10 people on my fingers right now who are friends of mine that I know personally who are doctors. So make no mistake about that. When I got some of these test results, I called them up. And what one of them in particular said to me, said, well, okay, you're doing everything you're supposed to do. You're on the right track. So the one thing you need to learn to control the stress. Because what's happening is the stress will also provoke acid. Your food what you eat can provoke it. But what he was saying is, remember now, when you take the medication, it's supposed to be either an acid blocker or acid reducer. And it may do that so the body can heal. But if at the same time while you're taking that, the body is naturally producing acid anyway, then on top of that, you are doing stuff that's producing more acid. Well, when that more acid goes on top of what's going on, the little medication you can't do anything to it.
Double trouble.
Yeah, it's double trouble. So that I learned to do too. I learned to control stress on the job and so on and so forth. And this was another thing I wanted to tell people too. See, this whole thing is holistic. I now realize when everything was said and done that the job that I had, the good Lord had put me there for a reason.
And when you say the job, you mean your employment?
At the university where I was.
Okay.
Because at one time I was trying to leave. I wanted to get promotion and so on and so forth. And I knew that I was doing good interviews and so on. And I knew that I knew what I knew because I know that I knew. And I couldn't get the job and so on and so forth. And sometimes I couldn't understand. But when everything was said and done, I remember talking to some of my friends right here in this house. And one of them said to me, you see, you were trying to run away to go do this, do that, and go the other. But the Lord didn't intend for you. He wanted you exactly where he had you. Had you left the kind of sympathy and patience and understanding that those folks on the job that you had right now, the kind of it that they had for you, you would not have gotten it at the job.
It'd be more stressful over there.
You would have been more stressful over there. But the job where I was, sometime when I went to work, I'm sitting in my office, and students came to see me, and they would tell her, of course, they would tell the truth. Well, he's not available now. Everything, and sometimes I was surprised. Sometimes I'd go up, and the student would say, I thought they said you're not here. I'm like, huh? But they were protecting me.
Yes, yes.
You see, and so they took the stress out of me. So at the end of the day, you know, you look at the thing from a holistic thing too. People don't always think about the spiritual side of it too, but there is a spiritual aspect to it as well.
Right, right.
That in itself helped to control stress. The other side too, and I could go on for 2 days now, but the other side to it is when I found out that there were people as far away in South America, in England, in all over the globe that was praying for me that I didn't know about it. Every time that it came to my knowledge that people were praying for me and about me, it was like a shot of adrenaline went from my toe right up to my head.
Amen.
Energy. And every time, I was surprised. I didn't tell my sister in England how sick I was, but somehow she knew and she was telling me, you know, my church is praying for you. That was like a shot, you know. And the thing about that is what I found out about these type of things is it's a positive, whatever it is shooting through your body. It's shooting through your body, which is what the body needs. So like I said, when I found out people in Mexico, and I didn't know anybody in Mexico, but I found out there were people in Mexico. In England, I forgot elsewhere, but it was over the globe. People were praying for me. Yeah. Every time that I found out about it, that energy shot right up to me and gave me more energy and vigor than you could imagine.
Well, Barrington, I want to thank you so much for sharing this experience. From Dr. Zoomhagen, you know, I connect your talk in regards to creation, right? When you talk about clay, when you talk about fruits and vegetables from the Caribbean, when you talk about walking barefooted, I would imagine Adam did not have shoes, right?
Correct.
Or sandals. So putting all that together, you definitely are like a poster child for what we're trying to do here at Natural Health Enthusiasts. Looking at things. But before I let you go, though, I do want to ask this question. How did you see, Barrington, that your health was affecting your family? Was there an issue with your son or with your wife? How did that relate to you wanting and desiring to make change?
Well, firstly, you know, of course, not that the wife was secondary, but you look at the young innocent child. He was about, when I finally first went to Vida Sana, Matthew must have been about 4 or 5.
Matthew's your son, yes.
Yeah. And I remember there were times when the baby was asking me to pick him up and I couldn't. I didn't have the energy and I couldn't pick him up.
Wow.
And so on and so forth. I just couldn't. And sometimes I just have to hold him and like walking by my side. He didn't know why. And I knew that I had to be in a position, I wanted to be in a position where I have to be provide for my family and for my son. I already knew because different people had told me, and I called one dear sister who is now resting up at the Evanston Church, Sister Kerr, who said to me one day, Brother McLean, somebody else can raise your child, but no one can raise your child like you can raise your child.
Wow, wow.
And she was telling me, you got to get it together. So there was that concern. Yolanda was still relatively new here, second year or so here. And so she had not gotten herself settled yet. So I'm thinking, if I'm not here, how are they going to survive? Obviously, they would have survived somehow. But in my mind, you know, the Lord provide. But in my mind, I wouldn't think of it that way. I'm thinking my son needs his father and his mother to grow up all the way up. And he needs to go to college and he needs this. And she alone would not be able to do that. So that was the motivating factor to get it together.
Wow. Okay.
And before I go, let me just say this. This is a little bit of advertising. Anybody want to know? One of the young ladies that was at Vida Sana, Colombia, she has a visa. She comes back and forth. She's actually in Chicago right now. And she's looking for anybody. She can do some of those therapies with them, whether it's the massage, whether it's the hot and cold water treatment, whatever it is. She's in Chicago. Anybody interested in meeting with her, she does some work with them, let me know.
Well, thank you. I think at the end, during our mixer, we can share some more about that information. But I'm hearing from Dr. Zoomhagen that natural birth was something that was inspiring to cause him to go in that direction. And for you, it was your family and it was the stress. You wanted to make that decision. We move on now to one of the, if it's okay for me to say this, Serena, one of the co-founders of Natural Health Enthusiasts. You've been with this organization for quite
from
some
the
time.
beginning, from the start.
From the start. That's exciting. And you've seen a lot of development, a lot of growth. You're part of that community that ultimately wants to reach the world to live better today than yesterday. We would like to hear your story, Serena. And let's begin with what was your nemesis? What was your Achilles heel? What was that thing that you were having to fight all the time that you were like, oh man, I can't shake it? Did you have something like that in your life?
Yes, I did. And I still do. But I believe that my downfall in health really has to do with ignorance, not knowing better. Because even though I grew up, as a vegetarian, no one really taught me at home, in school, at church, or anything, the real fundamentals of good health. So, I did everything. I ate everything that everybody ate. And, as a teenager, I ate all the junk foods and processed food. And I was particularly really attracted to McDonald's French fries for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's salty, yeah.
But that was like my go-to. And so anytime I'm hungry, something will just click in my brain, go get some McDonald's fries. And that's what I will always do. So I just ate that way, growing up as a teenager and a young adult. And, I did that. And I believe that was my nemesis. I do. Yeah.
All right. With regards to this particular item, right? The McDonald's, how did it affect you physically? What were some of the symptoms that came about during this time, either with that or with queso or other junk foods?
Yeah, I think it's something that happened over time, over years of eating this kind of way and not knowing better. I believe that eating the French fries and the milkshakes and the apple pies from McDonald's and all the processed foods and everything that I ate and what I did not eat. Like, for instance, I wasn't really eating vegetables and fruits and not drinking enough water. In fact, I tried to avoid water because
there's apple in apple pie, right? There's potatoes in French fries.
I guess. But the thing is that I think over time, eating this way, because it doesn't affect you, at the beginning, it takes years. So
right.
When I started feeling sick, like, getting sick every winter, literally my immune system will go down. I'll lose my voice. And even before then, I will be like, tired all the time, just lack of energy and not want to do anything, fatigue and just not really understanding. And I still did not correlate that with my diet because I didn't know that it was my diet, so I just thought that, well, maybe this is what happens when you get older, so I didn't know what to do. Literally, I didn't know what to do. Every month I was having pain, experiencing crippling pain to the point where I was overdosing with Advil, using it as a Band-Aid. I didn't know any better. So, but these were the symptoms that I was experiencing, every winter getting sick, lack of energy, fatigue. These are the things that I had to deal with.
Okay, well, good. My last question is twofold, right? Twofold. When you got sick and tired of being sick and tired, you must have had a moment where you became convicted to say, I've had enough. So my first question is, when was that? And then the follow-up question would be, what did you do?
Okay. So, I started to pray and fast. I just asking God just to guide me in my life, my health, the future. And amazingly, after I finished that prayer, in fact, I had a very strong conviction to stop eating cheese because another thing, I was a cheese lover. I mean, nobody could tell me don't eat cheese. I ate cheese with everything. So, but after that period of time, I had a very strong conviction to stop eating cheese. And when I told everybody else, everybody just kind of chuckled, like, let's see how long this is going to last.
Right.
But I I am grateful to know that I have not gone back to cheese, and it's been like 10 years now. So I'm happy about that. Yeah. And then with that, I was able to stop eating other foods. But also, one particular Saturday morning, I was on the piano and I was listening to the elder. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes. And as I was doing the piano, the elder was making some announcement. Pray for brother so-and-so, pray for sister so-and-so. They have this disease and this other disease. And then something just hit me like, I don't want to wait till when I'm like really have a real serious disease to start taking care of my body. I need to do something. And that's when I got another conviction to talk to a medical missionary that was going at my church at that time. And I heard that she was healing people and helping people with juicing and diet and, wholesome food. So I just wanted to talk to her. And I said, right after church, I'm going to go talk to this lady. And I spoke to her and I mentioned my interest in learning. I wanted to do something before my health declined to the point where I was really sick. I didn't want to get to that point. And that's how my journey in health began.
All right. I'm hoping that somebody online during our Q&A will ask you the question, what is a medical missionary? And so you say your journey began at that moment, and where did that take you?
So she, it took me to the point where I met other people that was helping me, because this lady introduced me to another person who was able to help me to understand the fundamentals of good health, cleansing the body, detoxing, nurturing the body and rebuilding and everything. Wow. So I started to learn under this other person and, for a few years. And then, he's a pastor, and, he recommended me to go and study to become a certified master herbalist, so I could continue and get further into that, career. And then I followed his advice, and I don't regret it.
So what changes have happened? What has happened? You've given up cheese, right? You spend less time at Mickey D's, and some other places. How do you feel? What about the winters? What about your fatigue?
Yes, so all of that went away when I started changing my diet, right? Because, when you're new to something, you're excited, you want to do, you're doing everything the right way, right? So I stopped eating all the junk food. Well, I stopped cheese from before and the McDonald's, but I started now incorporating fruits and vegetables, wholesome foods, and drinking water, which is something I was not drinking. I started drinking water, lots of herbal teas, and over time, the monthly pains that I was experiencing went away. They started to diminish little by little. I started to regain energy. I wasn't feeling fatigue like before. And also, there were like several winters where I wasn't getting sick. I wasn't losing my voice. I work around kids, and kids will sneeze and cough and don't cover their mouths, and
they bring everything.
Yeah, and I still didn't get sick. So I did make some major changes in my diet. I mean, I'm proud of myself and I thank God for helping me. And I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm definitely not where I was, because, after a while I got so used to it. And then sometimes there are downfalls, especially when you're around friends and family that they are not on the same page with you. So sometimes that can be a little challenging, but I did notice a huge difference in my health, when I started that change. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so happy to hear this. And, I'm looking forward to some more questions during our question and answer period. Before we take our last person though, that will be, Dr. Dale, we want to just play the video of our closing video for you, because we don't want you to miss out as to when we have opportunities and where you can pray. So Barry, if that video is ready, let's show them our closing video so that they know how to contact us.
We're thrilled that you're attending this edition of Your Natural Health Meetup. In between our monthly sessions, you can stay connected with us in as many as 3 easy ways. Our Facebook group has our live as well as archive videos along with other natural health updates and a place to post your questions. Our Natural Health Learn and Share Meetup site has announcements, reminders, and messages for you, and also our confidential requests for prayer page. We love to pray for you and any concerns of life that you may have. Use the link on the screen to stay connected for any one of these or all three.
All right. Please make sure you take a picture of that QR code and stay in touch with us. So we've heard from Dr. Zoomhagen about respecting the body and living as if we were Adam and Eve at their beginning, right, in creation, living that way. We've heard from Mr. McLean about self-advocating, prayer, and avoiding stress. Some of these things are necessary, but also about visiting health institutes like the one down in Colombia. And we've heard from Serena about ignorance. It's ignorance. We just don't know. But the more you know, the better you are to make decisions for yourself. We want to end now with our leader here, Mr. Dale Campbell, Michael Dale Campbell. Are you with us, sir?
Yes, I am. Let me get my video up too.
Wonderful, wonderful. You know, it says here that you spent some time in D.C. I spent some time in D.C. I went to college, Columbia Union College, just outside of the D.C. area. I had a wonderful time in D.C. But your experience apparently wasn't as nice as mine. What were you doing there in D.C. to begin with, and what happened?
So, yeah, I came to Washington, D.C. when I was 6 years old, actually. And that's where my parents were at university. They were studying at the time. And that I remember, in fact, it was just maybe a couple of years ago that I went back to Washington, D.C. and found the house where we were living.
Oh, fancy that.
At 145 Oneida Street. But the situation for me in Washington, D.C. that I recall very vividly is that I couldn't breathe very well. I had asthma, to the worst degree. It was very difficult to breathe. And I remember going from clinic to doctor to testing, all kinds of tests. And this is now in the late 1950s. So whatever the technology and the testing, it was limited to what was available at the time. Yeah. And there was nothing. There was nothing that they could really do for us. You just kept having to be careful and not exerting myself too much.
And now this was asthma as opposed to allergies. Asthma. So if you exercise too long, if you were, running a lot.
That's correct. That's right. Running my scooter in the alley behind the house.
Yes.
Yeah, those kinds of activities I had to limit quite a bit.
Okay. Well, you said you came to the D.C. area. Where did you come from?
Yeah, we came from Jamaica.
Okay, so you went from Jamaica to America, spent some time there. I myself, I'm from the Caribbean, right? And so I know if I would go home at any time and I would tell my mom I have these symptoms, there is an herb, there is a bush, there is some natural product that she would advise me to use. Was there an opportunity for you to go back home, and did you discover anything?
Yeah, so we were in the United States for just about 3 years. And my parents moved back. I was with them. So returning back at about the age of 8, still continued to have asthma symptoms. And it was on a sunny day in the city of Kingston. My mother and a lady were talking, and I overheard them talking.
And you were 8 at this time, you said?
Yes, I'm 8 years old. Yes, I overheard them talking. My dad had a nice 57 Chevy with the fishtail, and they were talking right beside behind the car. And what I heard, this was the lady speaking to my mom say this: just give him a few drops of juniper oil in his orange juice or his water, and his asthma will go away. And
juniper oil?
Juniper oil, that's right, juniper oil. And I don't know where my mom got it from, but I remember distinctly having to hold my nose because it smells terrible when she put those 3 or 4 drops in the orange juice. And it was a morning ritual. It was something that I had to do and I had to prove. Instead of leaving and having me finish it, she would stay with me to make sure I didn't dump it down the sink.
That's correct.
Yep. And so there it is, that within a matter of, I don't know now how long it took, but I have not wheezed since I got cured.
Wow. And so you're telling me that at the age of 8, you remember that because it was a watershed moment in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. When did you later in your life realize that there are benefits to natural products, to juniper oil or something?
Well, the second time that I think it stands out in my mind is just a few months after getting married in 1976, where a little patch of hair came out from the side of my head. Just a little patch. And the friends that we were staying with in Michigan at the time recommended that we travel to Illinois. It was about almost a 2-hour trip to University Park to a naturopath that was there. They had been consulting with this naturopath and had found good results. And I said, well, why don't you go check it out? Of course, we were students at the time at Andrews University, so we had to watch the pennies.
Yes.
And we got in our car, we drove over, and I got to tell you, he looked at me, first of all, and he said, well, your right shoulder is lower than your left, so we have to straighten that out. That was one thing. And the second thing he said, the nutrients that your body needs to grow your hair, you probably are deficient. So we're going to boost that and give you some biochemic tissue salts or cell salts to stimulate the activity. And I don't know how long it was, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks after that, my hair started to push back through.
Wow.
Yes, there was something else that he gave me, though, that was very powerful, and I still, even today, use it periodically, and that it was flax seeds, chia seeds, buckwheat, oat groats, wheat groats, all germinable, to be soaked in water with some raisins in a refrigerator. That's equal parts. And let it sit in the refrigerator until the seeds and grains get soft.
Okay.
And then I was to take a tablespoon in the morning and a tablespoon in the evening of that high nutrient dense mixture.
Yes.
And man, it provides energy and it has a tremendous number of nutrients for hair growth.
Wow. I'm glad I have a pen with me, and those of you that are online, I hope you're taking notes, because I am. And maybe somebody will ask about that in our question and answer period.
Sure.
We're almost out of time, but I can't end without asking about this watershed health journey that you have been on. Tell us about how you overcame diabetes.
Yeah, so, it's so with the background, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, I said to myself, there's got to be a natural way to reverse this. And so when I left the doctor's office, I must confess that I went to Plush Horse. If any of you are in Illinois and Chicago area, you know Plush Horse. That was my favorite banana split ice cream shop. And I stopped there on the way from the doctor's office in defiance and denial. But when I came home, I got on Google and I searched cure diabetes naturally. And I found I've been learning ever since. But what I will tell you, to make it simple for our audience today, and Dr. Zoomhagen, or actually Barrington, mentioned it specifically, inflammation. Acidic bodies tend to fall into disease. And so one of the things to do is to really figure out what is in your diet or beverages that is causing the body to become acidic, and then not to use those. Well, sugar is the main culprit. main culprit, but there are many other things. Any processed foods, there are chemicals, there are additives, there are preservatives to foods that really promote an acid kind of environment in the body. Once I removed those, and I'll tell everybody here, alpha lipoic acid and cinnamon are two excellent items to have on hand with a meal if you're going through that period of time to reduce the blood sugar. I will also identify that there is a stem cell supplement that helps the body to produce stem cells significantly by 400 to 800%. And as soon as I started taking that particular supplement, I could feel my body rhythm change. And the blood sugar started going just normally up when I ate a little, and then down at the night, in the morning after sleeping, it would be just within the normal range below the 100 reading. And it's been that way ever since.
Friends, I don't know about you, but I think that each of these presenters could have had their entire time with us this evening. I have learned a lot, and I'm still ignorant about a lot of things, but I've definitely gleaned a whole lot more than I did know last night. We want to end, but I just want to say thank you to each and every one of our presenters, our panelists for sharing. Thank you so much. You've opened up your lives, shared personal things, but I think it's the benefit of the community. Somebody's asking if you can share some of these supplements, and hopefully we'll do so during our Q&A or the after mixer. Before we end with prayer, I just want to invite Mr. Al. I think he may have a few words, and then he will give us our prayer. But this is the time for questions and answers, friends. And if you would be so kind as to let us know who you are, what your name is. And we have Dr. Zoomhagen ready to answer, share some more. We have Mr. McLean. He is still here. We have Ms. Serena. She's also available. And then we have Mr. Campbell. So anyone has some questions for them? Their journey, their experience, supplements. Questions or clarifications from our panelists?
I'll set it up so they can unmute themselves if they'd like to do that.
I thank you so much.
Hi. My name is Taj, and my question is for Serena. You mentioned in your background a bit that you did health missionaries. So I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about what that is and what exactly you did.
Excellent. There she is.
Okay. Yes, so I spoke to a medical missionary. So a medical missionary is someone that will either do it locally or travel to another person's home to help them with natural treatments and hydrotherapies and different natural treatments. But they are also treating the spiritual and mental aspect of the person, not only the physical body. So they will do things like those. So I spoke to that lady, and she's the one that initiated me and introduced me to another person, which is a pastor, and he's also a medical missionary, and he also introduced me to this lifestyle, changing, and that the change is just not only physical, but it's also spiritual, mental, all of these things are connected. So that's what a medical missionary is.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you so much for going in detail about that.
Thank you, Taj, for your question. I have a follow-up question to that, Serena, and that is, what is the training like to become a missionary, medical missionary? Does one have to go to, like Dr. Zoomhagen, medical school? Is there an institute that they go to, like Mr. McLean was suggesting? Is there a certificate that I can get online?
Well, the medical missionary, you can study that at different ministries. It's not like a school that you can go to, but like, for instance, Centurion Ministry offers medical missionary course training. So does Meet Ministry. So these are different ministries that are offering the medical missionary course.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Or they can go to Colombia too, right?
That's correct. They actually have the training there. They teach them about the Bible. They teach them some other stuff, doctrine, and so on and so forth, and a way of using the health message to win souls for Christ. Medical missionary, yeah.
Now, you talk about Colombia. My limited knowledge of that world tells me that they speak Spanish there.
Correct.
So,
yeah. But you know, I think, well, there are quite a few of them down there. I'm not sure if there's any elsewhere, but it's called Vida Sana Popayan. If you look it up, Vida Sana Popayan. They are using the stuff from the Bible, stuff from the Ministry of Healing, that sort of thing. And like I say, they teach those remedies. They do actually do anatomy and physiology, believe it or not, and so on. And then, but they combine it with biblical teachings. And then in turn, they're supposed to be missionaries, medical, to teach people about Christ using the medical knowledge.
all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dr. Zoomhagen, I have a question for you, though. As you have gone through the traditional, if I can use that term, medical background on training, how do you relate with other colleagues of yours that may not see the same as you, wanted to go back to creation? And I see there's a gentleman here, Rick, your title says Genesis Health. How do you relate to those that say, no, let's keep on giving them some pills, some drugs?
Well, medical school is 4 years of intensive brainwashing, and most people don't overcome it. And I'm just saying that very frankly. You know, God put that book, I mean, truly, that I mentioned that book, that was God that put that book into my hands, because
Mendelssohn.
Nobody else in my medical class read that book. It was like God sent that book to me. And the interesting thing, that book is dedicated to Dr. Meir Eisenstein, who was one of Dr. Mendelssohn's students, and I was working with Dr. Eisenstein 3 years later. So it was really the fingerprint of God that put that into my path. And, you know, I think we saw it in the last experience we had the last couple of years. There's a stranglehold that system has, and it's not for promoting health, you know, in our country. So it's a real blessing to have a gathering like this. It's very, very important for like-minded health practitioners to be gathering together and supporting each other. And because I have, the only other medical colleagues I have is either naturopaths, chiropractors, and one of the fellows that I used to practice home birth with, because nobody else is really on this path, so to speak. I've actually been going around churches and giving a little presentation I have about how we kicked God out of science back in 1859 with this theory of evolution, and how that is, you know, we're reaping the fruits of that, you know, successfully over the years. But it's you know, when you kick God out, there's still enough of God in the system that the system still retains some of a Christian viewpoint. But the more side isn't there, the more the Christian viewpoints fall away and fall away and fall away, and pretty soon you're left with a very, I'll just say, evil system. And so that's my simple answer.
Thank you.
My colleagues are you. Those are you're my like-minded colleagues, and I very much value your friendship.
All right. You sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind.
Yeah.
I want to get to Dr. Rick, but before I get to Dr. Rick, Janine has a question. Janine, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm just absorbing so much with you guys, but I know the speaker for Yolanda was talking about getting out and, walking barefoot on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like me, I'm a little, I guess, anxious. So how would I avoid like ringworm? Because I do want to do that, but I'm not going to lie. When I get out there, I'm kind of like, ooh, let me not step here.
Right.
Well, I mean, you're walking in the grass. That's when you're walking around on the grass. You obviously wouldn't want to walk out on the road. There's all kind of stuff you walk in that could be polluting your body. But you walk on the grass, and it stimulates, as they explained to me, it stimulates the nerve of your foot, which of course is connected to all the different nerves to your body, help to stimulate the whole blood flow and so on and so forth. But in terms of ringworm, I wouldn't walk into water, pool of water and that kind of thing. You walk on the grass. If you have a front lawn, for example, that you're cutting every week, what have you, you walk around on that barefoot. That's okay in your backyard. Walk around that barefoot for a little while. Or maybe if you go to the park, I know they may be spraying, I don't know if they spray pesticide or what have you on it, but, and that was an advantage down there. There's none of that down there. So I was walking around the grass in front of the building, at the back of the building, down the, what have you, in the property. It's a big 45-acre property. I was walking around barefoot. So, but if, to avoid all that, ringworm and what have you, you obviously, I shouldn't use the word obviously, you don't want to be walking around something that's wet, water, dirt, that kind of thing. No.
Thank you for your answer. Did you have something else, Janine?
Actually, I do. So I'm kind of new to this journey, and I've noticed that, a lot of people have their websites and businesses and things like that. But like Serena had stated, there is and, everybody has stated this really, but just, I guess, with what she does. For me, looking for services, spirituality is really important to me, and I don't want to get caught up in somebody's agenda for like a neo-wave, altered Christian type, you know what I mean?
I love your discernment. That's very good.
Yeah. So how do I guess what would be the best way to, because I do, tap in to that whenever I'm on these websites, asking the Holy Spirit, should I follow them? That type of thing. But, is there like a, guess, I don't know what the other word for, I don't want to say evil, but, like, I guess ill-intended sort of, agenda, could that be presented with these, these plans or all this new wave of information?
Thank you for your question, and I really want Dr. Rick to get into this answer, but I would say off the bat, absolutely. The devil in the book of Genesis is known as being crafty, right? He was the most cunning of all the created things, and so he will try to disseminate his theories and his desires in everything. And that's one of the things that I love about this community, as Dr. Zoomhagen says, like-minded people. We know that there is something called the great controversy, and Satan has infused himself in every aspect of our lives. But Dr. Rick, you want to share a few words regarding Janine's question?
Well, I think two things are pretty straightforward to me. Number one, you don't necessarily have to walk barefooted to be healthy. Okay. You use what therapies matches what is ailing you. So that's one thing, because you don't have to feel like you have to force yourself to do what someone else is doing necessarily, right? But the other thing is, if you were trying to recognize a fake dollar from a real dollar, how would you do that?
Right.
You spend time studying the real dollar.
Right.
And the things about the fake dollar will just jump out at you. So if someone is teaching something that is not aligned with the Bible or your beliefs or whatever, you're sensitive to that, you're praying, but you also listen. Just listen to what people are saying, and you study continuously. I don't think, I mean, I've been doing what I've been doing for 25 years, but I don't know everything yet either. So you wait and study and wait and study and watch, and God will lead you that way. You know?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And also, Dr. Zoomhagen, I really love that creation-based practice. That is just brilliant. So thank you.
I purposely named my practice Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, so that the body of believers could know you can come here and we're not going to deviate from God's ways. You know, we're not going to go into, other spiritual practices. I wanted people to realize there's a place you can go to and you can do something alternative to the mainstream without going into the occultic realms.
Wonderful. And that ties into what I was going to ask Dr. Rick. Your title there says Genesis Health. Why do you use Genesis in your practice?
Well, for me, I believe Genesis is the fountainhead of everything. I think that you can find sciences, you can find the guidance for health, you can find everything you need to find in the book of Genesis in terms of belief systems, etc., for the Christians. So I use that as a basis for understanding how I should actually do my therapy. So I'm probably, I don't know, one of the few people that I know of that actually base my therapies on biblical understanding and such, and then I verify science by what I do. So, which is a tricky task, but some things you keep and some things you throw out,
All right. Well, thank you. Hey, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. We're going to have closing prayer now by Mr. Backus, Dr. Backus. And then after that, please stay. I have some questions for the audience when we're through here. But Dr. Zoomhagen, again, thank you. Mr. McLean, thank you very, very much. And we pray that your journey continues to be a good one. Serena, we appreciate you sharing the fact that you have been tempted and still are at times, but you're continuing to work towards a natural health. And then ultimately, Dr. Campbell, Mr. Campbell, we appreciate you sharing about alpha acid and cinnamon as we try to stabilize our blood. Dr. Backus?
Yes, and let me add my thanks to all the presenters that you have named. And let me acknowledge you, Dr. Danny Frederick, in a special way for the wonderful job you have done moderating our program this evening. We thank you for all the time and effort. And I'd like to...
It's your permanent job now.
I'd just like to mention that
I second that nomination.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so very much. I do want to mention, just prior to the prayer, that the links are in chat. If you'd like to stay connected, our Facebook group, our Natural Health Meetup, All of the previous programs, including this one, are in our Facebook group. If you join the Facebook group, you'll have access to all of the archived presentations. And we'd love to see you join our group and share with us your challenges, your experiences, and your victories. And again, thank you all for coming out, and thanks to the moderator and all the other participants tonight as well.
And thanks to Michael Dale Campbell for leading out in this program. We have a lot of fun every Sunday morning at 8 o'clock Eastern Time in planning and visioning how we best serve one another and our audience. So let's bow our heads for prayer, please.
Grateful. It's a really fun show to do, and I can do it from my house.
For Alice's kids, tell us what Alice.
Althea Dennis, can you hear me? Dennis?
Okay, I got her.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are you ready? Let's bow our heads, please. Father in heaven, we thank you for this session of fellowship. We thank you that we can hear stories of individuals who feel they have been led by you in the practical things of life, such as health and lifestyle. And we thank you for your word that sets out the plan for not only our individual lives, but your plan for this earth, your creation. And we ask that as we go through the rest of our week, that we'd be cognizant of the things we are learning and sharing, and help one another to grow not only healthier in body and mind, but in spirit also, and be ready for your soon coming. We thank you for giving us your written word and the word in Christ Jesus, in whose name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Al. Well, this is the conclusion of our official time for Natural Health Meetup. And the rest of the time, about 10 minutes or so, we just want to figuratively take our ties off, right? And just have a chat, just have a talk and hear from you, the audience. And if you are so inclined, we would really appreciate if we could see you, right? Maybe you're on your bed, so just keep the neck part up, maybe you're driving, that's all right. Don't take your hands off the wheel. But we just want to chat, okay? We just want to chat. And I have a question, and I'm going to be very honest, all right?
Could I also, just one item, we're going to stop the streaming.
Oh, yes.
I want to stop the streaming now so we can actually take our ties off.
This is not being recorded, yes. Streamed, rather. It's not being streamed.